Hello and welcome to Springboard, your virtual university. My name is Albert Ukran, welcoming you on behalf of Team Springboard. This is your most inspirational show and that place where the greatest minds in the world converge. Springboard is brought to you by the Springboard Ratio Foundation and proudly sponsored by MTN Ghana and Enterprise Group with media support from the Multimedia Group and the Graphic Communications Group. So today, we bring you into the engine room with a woman who is on a mission across the world. The story is very simple. Everyone talks about brain drain and japa, moving people outside. She's talking about empowering, facilitating, supporting, and enabling people to redirect their energies from outside into the motherland to build a great and a strong nation. That's the kind of conversation we love to have here on Springboard. My guest, Christabel Dadzie, CEO of Ahaspora. Christabel, good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you for having me.
It's a blessing. Thanks for being on this incredible mission.
Yes, absolutely.
So, Ahaspora, I like the name, Ahaspora. It has a funky blend between Aha and then the Spora.
That's the whole idea.
How did it come about?
My mother, I give her credit. When I returned to Ghana from the US, she used to call me Ahaspora.
Wow.
Because she said I was no longer diaspora and then I wasn't Aha. That's really how it started. So when the idea of Ahaspora came up, I was like, oh, I have a name, and it caught like fire.
So what is Ahaspora?
Right. So Ahaspora is just like its name. Aha, the tree word for here, and then spora, the stem of diaspora. So we're here from the diaspora. And the idea is to support young Ghanaian professionals who've been abroad to come home and make a difference. That's basically it. And like you said, I like to look at things positively. So we won't focus on brain drain, which is what everybody talks about. People are leaving Africa. Our focus is on brain gain. How do we bring us back to leverage our human capital, leverage our economic development, leverage the new people we become. Reverend Okran, you were well-traveled, so you know that when you're a foreigner in somebody's land, you build some sort of resilience, particularly when you go as a young person. And we want to bring these skills back home to support our country and to promote in development and also to support the entire continent as a whole.
Help you to appreciate the various stakeholders and what's in this for them. I mean, for the average young person who dreams about, I have a big team of technical people working around me and I can look into their eyes and I can tell all of them if I put them on a plane to go outside,
they will go.
They would happily go. Let's start with the main stakeholder. What's in it for the returnee? What exactly is?
I mean, first of all, people come back home. In the case of the people that surrounded me, when I came home deliberately, they didn't come home deliberately. It was the time when the US economic crisis happened in 2007-ish, when the Wall Street crisis happened. A lot of young professionals who were doing very well, Lehman Brothers, Goldman Sachs, and others, were laid off. And they were laid off due to the economic crisis and the fact that there was a general layoff. Now, if you're an international student or an international worker, when you're laid off, you have to come home, pretty much, otherwise you're deported. And we had a breed of young people coming home as a result. Now, that can be a problem or that can be a solution. I chose to look at it as a solution, based actually on all the complaints that we had in conversations that I would have with people. In write-ups that I started doing at the time was Facebook notes. And I started writing the good, the bad, the ugly of the return. And what I found was that...
What was good?
What was good? Home. As soon as you get from Kotoka International Airport and you breathe that air,
or the air.
It's the air. It starts with the air, and then you nailed it. For me, as an Achem, kontomire, all the way. Kontomire and body. When you cook it in the US, it's not the same.
I know, right?
Yes. So it's home. There's something. Look, Ghana has its problems, no doubt about it. Now, for me, as an international development practitioner, I've also traveled a lot on the continent. And to be honest with you, every time I want to come home, the peace, the people, the camaraderie, even the complaints, there's something about it that is just all together. Exactly. Yeah.
The Nigerians think our countries, we don't know our country. They think we are so blessed we don't even know.
This is true.
They genuinely
I get it across every African country I go to.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's it for the person coming back. What about the person, those at home? What are the potential flashpoints or pushback or tensions or frictions between the person coming back with a skill, but also with sometimes with certain orientations,
Right.
and then the person who stays who has worked here all their lives. What are the potential tensions, and how does Ahaspora help people to appreciate how to iron these out?
So in the stories, I would write, like you asked me, the good. I'd also write the bad and the ugly, but I'd also write some epiphanies. Now, what I found was that, when you write Facebook things, people write on your wall. Those who had left and came back would be like, oh my God, Christabel, I'd never thought about this. For example, I'll talk about how I thought my productivity was lower here, and I realized that it was two things, traffic and heat. If you spend all your time in traffic, you're losing time in the day. Heat drains you as well. So I needed to start reorienting myself in how I deal with these two issues once I understood it. So anybody that had left was excited by the simple thing that I put out. Anybody that had stayed felt like I was insulting Ghana. So I saw very quickly a rift in the two people who were both citizens, the difference being that one had left, came back with complaints, one had stayed, held the fort, and really made it work. But I realized that we all need to find our place and be the solution. So for us, it was to bridge home and abroad.
I'll come to the bridge, but let's go to the ugly. What's the extreme?
Hey, so again, it's totally personal. I was in the office one day, and for whatever reason, apparently I don't look Ghanaian enough. And so people assume also that I can't speak any Ghanaian language. I speak Tree pretty well. My mother insisted that we spoke Tree at home when we were kids. And I had colleagues.
You speak better than your brother. Sorry, on the
Kofi is my idol, so I'll leave it to him.
Right, just for the benefit of those
Yes.
who must be asking who's this brother. Kofi
Yes.
Dadzie. He's a regular here. I can't even call him anything else than the quintessential springboarder. Kofi is big here. He comes here anytime he wants to come, and we always have a great time from history to engineering to management to IT.
Yeah.
Kofi is just it's great guy.
Yeah, so I'm the
Happy
one
New
that
Year to
comes.
Kofi.
Happy New Year, Kofi. I'm the one that comes after Kofi.
him. And he speaks
the
impeccable
little
Twi.
sister. He does.
Yeah.
He actually does.
Yeah.
I'll give it to him.
Yeah.
Because these days I realize I don't think as much in Tree anymore. So if you asked me to talk seriously, English would keep coming.
Okay, so
Yes.
you think in English and translate to Twi.
This is it.
All right.
Actually, sometimes French too picks up. It's weird.
So you're talking about office.
Yes. So I'm in the office in the hallway, and people are talking about me in Tree. Basically talking about how I'm too known, I'm too fast, I want everything pepe. And they had no idea that I knew what they were saying.
Did you relate that to the fact that you were Eritrean?
It was a new person I was. And before, I would apologize for it. And so over this experience, thinking through, analyzing, I'm a researcher, so I analyze a lot, I decided to own the new me. And the new me was this Ghanaian who is global and local. And it's a special place to be. And if you have a mindset towards owning that, it's very powerful.
If I understand you right, and I also try my very best to summarize what I learned so I can contextualize it, are you saying, in effect, that there is a blessing in being able to bring to the table not just your local experience, but also a global appreciation? And so people should not apologize for having had exposure outside our shores. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. If I had my own way, everybody would travel. You know the saying, travel and see? Truer words could not have been spoken. I appreciate cultures. I'm more confident. I'm an ambassador of Ghana. I wear my African fabric more outside than I do even at home, because there's this thing that everybody, as soon as they see you, I went to college in Ohio, middle of nowhere, Ohio. And a lot of people hadn't even seen black people before, let alone a Ghanaian. And so the first question they ask you is, where are you from? They don't ask you what you do. Where are you from? And so immediately you start speaking about your country, thinking about your continent differently. So that is something that is really spiritual and special, I think. And you need to bring it back to the country. They have to benefit from this experience. That in my work, a lot of young people I talk to, one time Ahaspora took our mentees to just Pam. And I asked them in the bus, how many of you have been to the beach? 3/4 of the bus had never just gotten up, to go to the beach.
And these mentees are people based here in Ghana?
Correct, yes.
So would it be your submission that we don't know our country enough?
We do not.
Why?
We do not. A lot of people will go to school, church, and then their community in the same areas. Ask how many Ghanaians have been to Mole, how many people have been to Bumpumbu Yoyo, how many people have been to areas in Bongahafu. Very, very, very little. They know where they are from very well, and they're proud of it, but they haven't explored.
Thanks to Springboard, I've done quite a bit of this country, but I would agree with you, and I have very, very fine opinions about the beauty of our regions and our domestic tourism and the cleanest region. I don't share these thoughts on air because it brings trouble.
I know.
But there are some regions that are
I actually have my most
so
beautiful region.
Serene,
Yes.
so clean.
Yes.
There are some
Yes.
cities you ask yourself, is there no rubbish here? I mean, it's so clean.
Absolutely.
But we don't know because we don't make the effort. What should we do differently from where you sit?
From where I sit, if you have been abroad, you should always look back to come home. Not necessarily I used to explain that we should come home fully. So I came back on a one-way ticket. But I've been back so many times that now my story has changed. You should have, first of all, a mindset of coming home, which then allows you to give back. It could be to a community school. It could be to a child who needs health care. And then you should also consider the periodic returns and ultimately, if possible, the return. Now, that return to me is not just Ghana, it's the continent. Because we need to look at it its broader and see what opportunities are there for us as Africans to build our continent as a whole.
Juxtapose this against the African Americans who are not necessarily what you would call Ghanaians.
Yes.
Some of them just believe it,
Yes.
but they don't have any empirical basis of calling themselves Ghanaians, who seem to be extremely excited about return and invest. I mean, you hear them talk about saving to come to Ghana.
Absolutely.
Talking of which, I once heard a Nigerian preacher, and I've saved that video. It's almost the ultimate for me. Say that, listen, Charlie, be exposed. Don't sit in your one place here in Lagos and don't travel anywhere. If anything, at least travel to Ghana. I said, hold on a second. Did you really say that? He was preaching travel to Ghana and see Ghana and come back. I'm like, wow. It was a shock for me.
Right.
So for those people who live abroad, who are African Americans, who save, plan for, they make so much noise about it and come to Ghana, especially in December
Yes.
at the end of the year, and then juxtapose it against a Ghanaian who may be able to afford it, but never adds that to their plan. How do you explain the dichotomy?
Can I speak freely?
Absolutely.
Ghanaians are comfortable.
What does it mean?
We're blessed with peace. We're blessed with resources. We have issues, yes, and it's actually worse now than probably in my lifetime. But we are comfortable with little. So the lady selling tomatoes, if she can get her 200 cedis revenue a month, she's okay. You will find that countries that have been conflicted, whether it's actual war, whether it's civil rights movements, these economic crises to extremes, they tend to want more. And sometimes I feel like that is part of the problem. So the African American is not comfortable in the US for the most part because they see a lot of the times they're second-class citizens, even today. You know about the number of African American males who have been killed. Driving while black is actually a 10. You know, they treat you differently. Racism is real. So if you have a place that is saying you're welcome, and by the way, let me say it, I think that the year of return idea was one of the best things that has ever happened to Ghana from where I sit. And I really applaud the government for making it happen and pushing it to beyond the return. And I think it will continue for a very long time. Has its problems, but you know, in terms of the conceptual idea, is excellent. Because what we're doing is we're saying to the outside world who believe they look like us, they feel like us. If you go to Jamaica, you mention Dokun, they know what it is. Anansi, they talk about it. So it's the same people really, just have been scattered across, and we're saying, come home. This is an option for you. For them, it's actually even more so a spiritual journey. more than the investment piece of it, for which a lot of them have done big and small investments. But that spirituality of it, for them to come back and see what happened to the ancestors. When you and I go to Cape Coast and Elmina, it's just a historic journey. For them, it's real, it's personal. The fact that you had churches and a slave dungeon right below a church, and it was their ancestors that were there. So they are coming on a mission to find their roots, a mission they'll tell you. When I went to Ohio, actually, for example, it was the first time that I was defined Black, and I fought it hard. For them, they don't have an option. This is who you are. The first thing they look at is the color of your skin. And then they come here and they are one of the majority in a way they've never been before. So it's something that it's amazing that we thought it's important to push this route.
When you talk about supporting people to come back, what does it mean?
When I returned home, I felt a little bit alone, lonely. I naturally went to find people like me. And it's because, you know how we're set up. I did boarding school in Ghana. I went to Ibri Girls, but I didn't do university in
You have a
Ghana.
strong old school network, so you shouldn't have been lonely.
Well, this is the thing. I lost it because it was built even stronger in the university. People married each other. People befriended each other. So you come back and you are outside that circle and you need to find it somehow. And what I found was that sometimes it was more difficult to actually find it in the old school system because it was so solidified at the university level that it was better to actually find it in some sort of groups. So I started looking for groups. I'll tell you, you know Kofi. When Kofi came, he found it through his Achimota old friends and then rebuilt the network. My sister Abasa, who comes before Kofi, came and she couldn't find it. And I realized that I may go back and never return if I didn't find it. And so it didn't necessarily have to be within the school network. It could be church, it could be clubs and such. And I thought in my conversation, it was in the association. The fact that people already know where the best pork joint is. And for me, I need to find it before I can throw a party. The fact that I'm looking for a job, but I'm not, and you know, I tell people that Ghana, it's not that Ghana doesn't have systems. We have a system. Our system is people. So if you lose touch with the people, it's slower for you to do the things you can do. So you need to build it.
Relational equity.
Absolutely. That is our system.
Most people underrate the power of relational equity,
Absolutely.
but it's huge.
Absolutely.
It is huge.
Yes.
So what you do is try to connect people to networks. Is that what you do?
That's what it is. So we started a listserv, now turned into an app where people can ask any question under the sun. And what I did in that whole pursuit of bridging home and abroad is we included people also who were interested but had never left, who were curious, because they are a resource. They know, they've been here. They know where you can, actually there's still one question still not answered, which is where to rent a tuxedo. But I realized that it's a very American thing. Here, the tailor will make it for you. It's affordable enough and it's special enough.
Yeah.
Whereas abroad, you're just wearing it that one night, so you rent it out.
Yeah.
So it's that one question. But aside that, questions are answered. We started from 12 people to now we have over 3,000 people who are able to respond to questions. And it's that critical mass building that helps you